Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Left Swipe, presented to you by H2H. I'm Hector, and this is Helen.
Hello, Hector. How are you doing?
Pretty good. And today we're going to be discussing Area 51.
Yes, we're going to be discussing Area 51 and other stuff also that we think that maybe the government is hiding or just stuff, right? That is just unknown to us.
Have aliens visited us? Do they work with the government? Who built the pyramids? And so many other questions, right?
Yes, so many questions. So, when we start talking about Area 51 and what people think that there is there, right?
Mhm.
Hector, like like you had mentioned to me previously when we were talking, and this was another private conversation, but we were just talking about Area 51, and we just wanted to do, uh, we just wanted to speak to you guys about it more. And Hector mentioned something about it's like people think that it's like it could be like a testing facility, right, Hector?
Yeah. So basically, from my knowledge, Area 51 is actually called Groom Lake. That's what the government actually has it listed under, and it's supposed to be a United States Air Force installation used to test and experiment with well, experimental aircraft. But there's
Yeah,
so many different conspiracies and beliefs as to what actually happens there. And I
yeah.
mean, just tell me what have you heard, Helen? Like, what are some of the stories that
Just
you?
that we have aliens there, right? That we
Mhm.
have like, yeah, and they have them there. They have them like kind of captive and just like kind of that's like I guess what general people think, kind of like, right? That we have external we have aliens, basically just like aliens there.
Doesn't
What
really make
have
sense if you think about it, though. Like, you know, aliens are supposed to be like a whole lot smarter than us, right? Like they've managed to like travel through space and shit, and they have like they're way more advanced than us. Like, how is it that, let's pretend that that's actually what's going on. Like, why would they be like subjected to us, you know?
like I think it's just like, to be honest, like the more that you grow up, the more that you just like start thinking about these things, like the more that you actually like start to think about like more like common sense and just like even like the people that work there and then like are now retired and are saying stuff like I just think it's like more unlikable, like you said, like does it make sense that these creatures like are there, how are we holding them, like they're smarter than us, obviously they're doing something right, how are they disappearing in the sky and then we're getting them, like we're getting them captive there. And not only that, but I think it's just like even thinking about, I don't know what you think about Hector, so I'm gonna ask you your opinion.
Hmm.
Even okay, you used to be an employee that worked there and you know all these secrets. Do you really think that now that you're retired, you wouldn't like really say it to the whole world? Something that's like very like,
No, definitely not. And um, as
or
I,
would
you
be
know,
freaked out at least, like even if it wasn't like you signed an NDA or something, but like or just be freaked out, like by
even
the whole thing. Oh, you know
even
what?
and yeah,
Yeah.
well, there's obviously NDAs, and there's also, well, when it comes to government classifications, it's always basically implied that there's a whole controversy going on in recent times as to whether a president can say something is classified or otherwise. But that aside, if something's classified as if something's secret or top secret, it stays secret. Just because you've seen it, just because you had access to it, doesn't mean that now, whether you are or you're not in the service or in the government's line of employment, you can't just come out and say those things because at best you will go to jail, and at worst, well, let's just say that you won't. You're not going to be around for much longer. There's a lot of stories of people
But you know
fucking.
what? I've heard of stories of people that said that have said that. Well, they used to work there, and this is what happened there.
But how do we know where they're being honest? How do we know they're true?
Well, we don't know it. But also, you have to think about it. Like, I feel like, to me, it just doesn't make any sense. You know why? Because like, even if you come on, like really, like if I knew something, okay, you have to think. I would think about it myself.
Hmm.
I can sign an NDA, right? I'm not gonna say this is classified information. I'm not gonna say anything. Oh my gosh, imagine that we knew that there was like these creatures that we have no idea about anything, and we're like studying them. Do you really think that like I don't think that I would be able to like, okay,
Keep that
I'm done
secret.
working and never tell anyone like, dude, no, this should exist. You really think that you wouldn't tell anyone at all?
Look, I feel like it depends on what you know, right? Because looking at it very superficially and saying, as you said, okay, we know that there's these creatures that exist that nobody is aware of. That's crazy. Obviously that's groundbreaking. It would change everything that we know. But if you're really in the know, if you really like know that these things are happening, let's say you are a member of Area 51 or the government or whatever, how, you know, just I don't know, dude. Like it doesn't make too much sense to me that they would that they would come out and say these things because
Really, you really don't think that? You know what is so funny to me? Because with like even with now, like even with like I would like
there's
totally expected someone even to take a video or
there's two
something.
ways. Well, yeah, nowadays that makes sense, but
Like I would have
there's
expected, come on, like really, those people are like that loyal. Those people are like that doesn't make sense to me.
I
Like
mean,
I
you
would,
do take an oath, you do swear, so
yeah, that doesn't mean
you
anything. Oh my gosh, all those
it
people that are
doesn't
in
no, I
jail,
mean,
they taking notes and they said like they haven't murdered this person, and it's like no, you did, you know.
no, but if you break your oath, you go to jail, and and at worst, you end up,
You really
you
think
end
that
up.
there will be people willing to go to jail just because like I don't think so, Hector.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely.
No, Hector, but it's just
People
you don't
are
think.
willing to die on the craziest of hills.
I don't think that this secret would be so well guarded if it was true. That's
Okay,
the thing. Like, I do
here's
believe
what
in
I wanted to
aliens.
say.
Like, I believe in extraterrestrial
Here's what
livings,
I wanted to say.
but I just
Let's
don't
say
think
you
that we
work
have
there
them.
and it's true, right? And you decide to come out and tell everyone what you know, or at least some people like close to you, right?
Yeah.
Let's see that there's two major possibilities. One, they're gonna think you're crazy, and then they're gonna like, basically treat you like the redheaded stepchild, like just. Or two, what if what you know, and I want you to think about this, like, what if what you know is just that shocking that you feel like it's your moral obligation to like not tell anyone, like, you know what, like if you wish you could go back and just unlearn the things because you're like, like, I don't think anyone should know this, like it's too crazy, it's too ridiculous, like it doesn't even matter if people believe me or not, it's just like, we're not ready for this, type thing. What do you think?
No. Actually, I believe the total opposite. I feel like I wouldn't even think it's that ridiculous. I
what
would
if
just
what
be
if like
like,
these
no, I need to tell
beings,
you guys about this.
like okay, look at it from like a religious point of view. What if these beings excuse me, reveal that they're like angels, that they're like, the angels of the Bible, or that they were the, like the real ones that are pulling the strings, and that it's us, that we're the excuse me, we're the guinea pigs in the laboratory, and they're the actual scientists. People, I don't think people are ready to hear that, regardless of if you believe in aliens or not. It would completely change our understanding of the world and of ourselves.
But that's a whole different topic. That's like a whole different topic, categorizing them
But if
as
you know this,
something different.
but if you
No,
work
but that's a
in
whole different topic. That doesn't mean that everyone's gonna make it in their own opinion about what they believe these, I guess, things are, right? I'm just saying like that this exists, right? So
Mhm.
I wouldn't label them as anything. I'm just saying like, well, like this is going on, this exists, and you know what? Like it's crazy. I wouldn't have a problem saying that to anyone, to be
Look,
honest.
if they have, let's assume they exist, they would have the abilities. You know how us two animals, it might sound ridiculous and kind of stupid, but to animals, we're pretty much like gods. We can turn off and off, we can turn the light on and off. We can make music come out of boxes. We can speak to other people that aren't even in the same room. Like it's crazy to think about from like a very like a very primitive animal perspective. And the reason I bring this up is, isn't that sort of how we would be kind of looking at them and their technology and what they're able to do? Like, to the point that, we would be like, shit, like they're gods. They can probably listen to our thoughts. They can, they probably know stuff about me that even I don't know, dude.
Okay,
And
but that's okay. So, but that's an interesting. That's something that you said that's very interesting. Okay, but how do we know that these I don't even know how to categorize them to anymore.
beings,
These
creatures.
beings, how do
Mhm.
we know that they are actually as smart as we have kind of portrayed them to be, right? Because they disappear in the sky. Like we really like to be honest, like okay, we have made them to be into these things that are just like holier than our, right? But how do we actually know that? That's something that you have to like yeah, they were actually like an Area 51 and we can see their power, you know?
Mhm.
We just have like this perspective, okay, yeah, they disappear in the sky, right?
Mhm.
They take they what's another one that they take people, right, for ransom, and then for
Not
ransom,
for
not
a
even
rat.
not for ransom. Oh my gosh, I
To
don't even
sell
know
them
why
their
I said
money.
ransom. For ransom. I don't know why I said for ransom. That's funny.
That's funny.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
They abduct people. Oh gosh, that's so funny for ransom.
Hmm.
No, but that but yeah, it's things that have not been really exactly proven, you know?
Yeah.
So how do we actually know that these
I would
beings
say,
are as powerful as we say that they are, you know?
okay, I would say that there's, okay, human beings, we barely went to space, like, for the first time in what, like the 1950s, which was in the grand scheme of things not that long ago. And these creatures are now like they're traveling from galaxy to galaxy or whatever. That on its own is pretty, like, it's
How do we know
damning.
that they're traveling from galaxy to
Okay,
galaxy?
so where do they come from? How did they get,
But
like,
we don't have
they,
the thing is that we don't have the proof. Like, how are you can say something, they're traveling from galaxy to galaxy.
I
How do
mean,
we know?
what are the odds that a group of a dumb a dumb race of creatures just randomly stumbled upon our planet, and they have, like, like UFOs and whatnot, like that. It doesn't really make too much sense, like they're probably gonna be smarter than us. That it just seems like, I mean, I understand the idea of finding alien life that is not as smart as us, but it's more likely that we would discover them as opposed to them discovering us, you know?
Yeah, the only thing is that I feel like to this point we would have more evidence. Like I'm not saying that I don't like I'm actually like I do think that they exist, you know? But I feel
No,
like
I do as well.
I just feel like to at this point, like come on, at this point we would have more evidence, more we, and the whole
There's
Area
some
51 to
people
me
there's some
doesn't make
people that would
sense to me.
argue there's some people that would argue that there is plenty of evidence.
There is evidence, and like I do feel like I said, like there's a lot of videos and stuff. But I mean, like at this point in time, like really, like you really don't think that maybe like something happened, something maybe there was like a crash, and like regular people found it, or like there would be like videos, or like there would be something, don't you think?
But
Why is it
isn't
that
like
everything?
okay, in the stories that have come out of, as you say, like crash landings, that sort of thing,
Mm,
who's the first people to show up every time? It's the government. They show up and then they
yeah, but
cover it up.
this is okay, but you really think that that's what I'm saying, but that's what I was gonna get at. Okay, it's the government, right?
Right.
You really think that not a person would get at least some coverage and would post it or anything, and there you really think that everyone, come on, dude, we have psychopaths here murdering people. You really think that someone is not going to be like, okay, I don't give a fuck, I'm posting this, I'm letting everyone know what's going on? Really never in like what in so many years, like no one is ever gonna break the rules and like really not do anything. You really
There's
think
so
that?
many stories, dude. There's so many stories, and if one of our viewers knows who I'm referencing, please elaborate in the comments because I can't remember this guy's story or his name. But like, there's
Mm,
like a story of this guy who was a giant whistleblower. I don't know if he worked for the CIA, but he said a lot of things. And then one day, he quote unquote unalived himself. You know what that means, right? He unalived himself with two bullets through the back of his head. So,
mm,
you know what I'm trying to say is that there are actual repercussions to coming out and you know saying what you know. Like, I was in the military, and I can tell you that there are things that I'm not saying that I know about aliens or anything. I'm just saying that there are things that you just don't say. You just don't say because you know that on at the very best you're a traitor, and at worst, your life is in danger, you know?
yeah. Yeah, I just find it odd. I just find it odd, to be honest. I just find what I find most odd is just because like even though like okay, yeah, you're saying your life is a risk, come on, out of so many people, you really
Hmm.
think that there would be more stories about it, you know?
But I mean, I feel like, as I said earlier, that plenty of people would counter argue and say that there are plenty of stories, that there are plenty of people that have come forward, and there is evidence, but that the evidence either gets dismissed as being fake or whatever. Like, okay, let's say somebody comes out and today, it's like all
Also,
over the news. It's all over
yeah,
social media. A video of an alien, right? How
yeah.
many people would immediately be like, "Oh, that's CGI, that's fake, that's AI, that's whatever," and let's pretend it is actually the real thing. How many people would actually believe it? Not too many people.
You know what's also interesting? Sorry that I totally kind of go off topic,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not that off topic, but also, you know how like the presidents, right? They
Mm-hmm.
supposedly get all this information, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that's supposed to be very confidential. And
Mm-hmm.
then they're not supposed to say anything about it. And then I'm just like, really? They really never say any of this information to like their closest friends. You know what I mean?
I
Like
really
really, like
feel.
you have like even if also like you have like let's take it in consideration right now. Like you have a president like Donald Trump, right?
Hmm.
You really think someone being so outspoken, right? And
Hmm.
so out there, you really think he wouldn't say because he says we have to be honest, right? He says
Okay,
stuff out
you
of like sometimes that is he just says stuff to say stuff, right? And we are not saying that we condone any party or anything, but we just have to say that he's outspoken, right? So how would it be that like, oh yeah, really, you
abs
really think that never they
absolutely.
would
But look,
speak at a place, right?
you've brought up a good point regarding Trump. Trump, one of the things he said, and again, yeah, I completely agree. We're not political. We're not taking any sides, and I'm not saying I'm against or for Donald Trump. I just want to say,
Exactly.
and this is a
Neither
fact.
neither am I.
And
We're not affiliating ourselves with any party or anything like that. We're just talking about how yeah, like how someone that's outspoken, right? Like
as I was saying, Trump himself did say one of or two of his campaign promises were to uh, talk more about JFK, and they did release like files regarding him, and but it was basically stuff we already knew. There was nothing big. And the second thing was the whole Epstein report, and that was a giant lie. It was nothing more than it was all basically redacted, you know. And so I'm just saying, I don't. Yeah, he is outspoken, but I don't think even him, I don't think people would talk about something like this if it's a secret that is that secretive. You're
yeah,
going to
monumental.
keep
Yeah.
it. You're going to keep it. But yeah, this has been a quick little discussion on what may or may not be going on inside
Yeah. Hector is
various
more
establishments.
I think Hector thinks I think it's more or less just because I think that people are more outspoken. Come on. In this day and age, everyone wants to be relevant, like they're gonna be talking about something. Like if you have something interesting, like and whereas Hector is more what do you think, Hector? You're more
Yeah,
like
I mean, definitely people want to be out there and like, especially like the younger crowds. But
mhm,
again, when it's that monumental and when lives may be at risk, maybe it's just worth not talking about it, you know?
yeah.
It's
Yeah, so we have it's this has been a great discussion. We have two kind of different views, I think. But yeah, it was great chatting with all of you guys, and you guys can comment, like, and let us know in your comments. What do you guys think, right, Hector?
all right.
What
Thank you
is
guys
your
so
perspective?
much. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do think that, you know,
It's a great discussion, and we
sometimes
definitely want to
it's so
hear from you
risky.
guys.
And we'd love your feedback. And if you haven't, please subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care.
Okay, it was great. Bye, guys.